There's a serious injury in the Seattle backfield and a potential problem in Denver. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Tuesday, October 11th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback for us today is the guy the Seahawks upgraded on with Geno Smith. The honeymoon phase for Denver and Russell Wilson officially ended in Week 5 after the Broncos failed to score a touchdown in 68 minutes of action on Thursday Night Football against the Colts. 11.2 fantasy points is what Wilson scored in that game, and it was his third performance with 12.1 fantasy points or worse this season. Now, Wilson apparently came into Week 5 with a shoulder injury, and it came out after the game that he's dealing with a partially torn lat near his throwing shoulder. Now, the injury doesn't explain his two egregious third down interceptions in the fourth quarter because they were just bad decisions. And they spoiled likely scoring drives for the Broncos in that atrocious football game. But now Wilson at least has the lat injury, which our Dr. Edwin Porras, by the way, called baseball-like. And he said it's something he's going to have to rehab with the entire season. Now, Wilson's efficiency in the red zone has been terrible. He failed to complete a single attempt on 6 passes into the end zone in Week 5 with an interception, and he's completed just 2 of 18 such attempts this year in 5 games. He also has just 4 passing touchdowns through 5 games, which is the worst start to his 11-year career. Oh, and by the way, he lost blindside protector Garrett Bowles for the year. The Broncos have scored 16 or fewer points in 4 of the first 5 games, and for fantasy, Russ has to be considered as a mid-range quarterback too until this offense shows any signs of life. Now, you can't help but feel awful for Rashaad Penny. It was absolutely sickening to see that he unfortunately is going to miss the rest of this season with a broken fibula that required surgery. And Penny was just starting to get into a nice groove with the rest of the Seahawks offense, and he just cannot fade the injury bug for one season. Now, as a result, second-round rookie Kenneth Walker Jr., who is a really talented young man, will now get the lion's share of the work going forward in the Seattle backfield, and obviously is the premier waiver wire pickup of the week. But Coach Pete Carroll did say that DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, when the latter is available off of IR, will mix into the backfield more. At our other running back spot, we have a serious downgrade for Antonio Gibson. Commanders rookie Brian Robinson was back in action Week 5 for the first time since being shot in a robbery attempt back in August. Now, it was awesome to watch and a huge accomplishment for Robinson. But for Gibson, well, with Robinson in the backfield, Gibson saw just 6 touches and a 32% snap share against the Titans, both his lowest numbers of the season so far. That is, of course, not unexpected. Ron Rivera and the Commanders coaching staff telegraphed that they wanted Robinson to see a significant workload in this offense over the course of the offseason. Now, Gibson could still be used as a change of pace back going forward, but he'll have a hard time even seeing flex value for fantasy without an injury to this running back room because J.D. McKissic is still here too. Rivera said on Monday, by the way, that Gibson is now a candidate to return kicks. That's just one more thing where he won't be getting fantasy points, unless you get fantasy points for things like that, of course. In our wide receiver 1 spot, we have someone now playing through shoe injuries. The Dolphins' Tyreek Hill left Week 5 early after he had his foot stepped on, and he left the stadium in a walking boot. Now, Pro Football Talk reported that the injury isn't believed to be serious, but it's notable because Tyreek also entered the game with a quad injury that landed him on the injury report. Now, he finished the game against the Jets by catching all 7 of his targets for 47 yards from third-string quarterback Skylar Thompson, who was forced into action after an independent spotter pulled Teddy Bridgewater from the game under the new NFL concussion protocols after just 1 pass. This all comes as Jalen Waddle is also gutting through his own groin injury. The arrow is pointing down for the time being in this Miami passing attack with Hill and Waddle battling through injuries, but their quarterback situation should at least be getting better against the Vikings, with Bridgewater potentially back and Tua Tagovailoa back eventually. Might be a good time to consider a buy low offer for Hill or Waddle. At our other wide receiver spot was someone who was a complete decoy in week 5. The Bengals burned fantasy managers on Sunday night against the Ravens by forcing a potentially unhealthy T. Higgins to suit up through his ankle injury. He lasted just 10 snaps, and he didn't see a target before he left the lineup for good in week 5. Now, our Edwin Porras believes Higgins may have suffered a high ankle sprain in week 4, which would make Cincinnati's decision to suit him up a little more baffling. Now, head coach Zach Taylor said after the game that Higgins, quote, could have been an option in the second half, so hopefully he avoided a full-blown aggravation of this injury. Now, Higgins will be an interesting player to monitor on the injury report this week to see if the Bengals turned his situation into a multi-week injury by trying to rush him back. But unfortunately, he was somebody who had to play. Higgins had 70-plus yards and 14-plus fantasy points in 3 straight games before his unfortunate week 5 goose egg. The Bengals' bye week isn't until week 10, so Higgins might be managing this injury for the foreseeable future. Not ideal. In our flex spot, we have someone who has as many points as you do these last 2 weeks. The Cowboys are winning, though it doesn't have much to do with their anemic Cooper Rush-led offense. And one player not exactly living up to ADP is tight end Dalton Schultz, who has no catches over the last 2 weeks. Now, that does require the big caveat that Schultz is also playing through a knee injury, a PCL sprain that he might well have aggravated on Sunday against the Rams when he collided with a defender. He was later spotted with a bulky brace on his knee and was visibly frustrated. Not only does Schultz need Dak Prescott back, he now needs to get healthy above all. I'm Joe Dolan, and this has been the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup, which airs every Tuesday through Friday mornings during the NFL season. Now, remember to like this video, just hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the Fantasy Points channel, and you get all of our videos, some of which are actually shows that are typically paywalled that we like to throw out there as a little bit of a bonus. As a matter of fact, tonight's show, which is typically paywalled, is going out to the people on YouTube. So if you like the video, if you like the shows, sign up to fantasypoints.com where we're already 25% off and use code lineup22 to get 10% off more. I'll talk to you tomorrow, everyone.